My name is Kloet. I'm the chair of the FM and openBIM project, and together with Alexander Warp, who's online and organizing that all the ones that are here or online are going to participate in what we want to tell. Because how can I go with the slides? Can you please go to the next slide? Yeah. Because what we want to do is we want to use the software Mural. And Alex has put a link in the chat. If you can go to Mural, you can participate in developing the golden thread. Because that's the objective of the project we are now at this stage, is developing a golden thread for FM and openBIM. So I'll give you 1 minute. Everybody online. Is it working online? Yes? Okay, give everybody a little bit of time to open the link that's in the chat with the QR code to make people active. Can you go back to the first slide then? Yeah? Do you need the QR code again? Yeah? They need the QR code again. The link to this, yeah. The link to this mural will be open for the next 10 days, and we would like to have your response and input. And yeah, and in the presentation there's also the email of Alexander Warp and myself. If you want to have a Teams meeting with us about your input and explain a little bit more why you think these buildingSMART standards should be used by facility management, as we know it. Today I already saw some presentations where facility management was on the receiving end of project, like the Henderson project. I don't know if anybody's seen that. It was also a very good one, I think. Now let's start the presentation. Go back to the first slide, please. We'll come to this one. Yes, the golden thread FM and openBIM is on the agenda. But I want first to explain a little bit more about the project and more specifically related to the ISO TC 267, which is like the ISO TC 59, but for facility management. We have an ISO 41000 standard, and the world of FM works with that, or tries to work with that ISO 41000 standard. So what are we trying to do? We try to align facility management with buildingSMART International. That's what we're trying to do today. Align the world of FM, whether it's North America, IFMA, Global FM, India, China, Netherlands, whatever, we don't care. It's all about ISO 41000. That's why we have that restriction. Alexander and I are joined in this meeting because Alexander is the BSI guy and I'm the FM guy. That's the game we play together during the project. Yeah, so he brings in everything facility managers need to know, and I ask him, what do facility managers need to know? Something like that. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This is a little bit moved, the text from the picture. That's not very unfortunate, because this is the definition of facility management. I'll read it out loud. Facility management is the organizational function which integrates people, place, and process within the built environment. So our role here today is also integration. Integration of data, integration of processes within, and we do that using the built environment with the purpose of improving the quality of life of people and the productivity of the core business. So we focus on the health of the users in order that they can be more productive, to put it simple. Okay, next slide, please. We started this project 1 year ago. We delivered a detailed project plan, which was version 3 approved June 15, 2021. with 3 objectives: representing the FM industry in developing openBIM and the ecosystem of digital twins. And today we will show you that we do that via the ISO TC technical committee. And via that, the countries are connected. Deliver an openBIM facility management information requirements, openBIM IDMH handover standard based on the ISO 41000 series that will make automation of handover, transfer, and the revision of data more accessible for FM, using all the buildingSMART international tools and services, etc. That's the idea. Deliver, based on the second one, an openBIM FMCDE standard, whatever that may be, because there, as you all know, there are open CDE products on the market already, and that's good. That will increase real estate value by 2%, bring down FM failure cost by 5%, and simplify FM services processes. And this is all to do with transparency of data, interoperability of data, open sources. And at the moment, facility management has a big problem with that, as you all know, because we're not connected. We might be connected in one project or in 2 projects, but this is about a higher level of connection. Next slide, please. We delivered 5 industry insight papers with 5 working groups. And on the right side, the text is not in the picture anymore because we focus on the 5 core businesses of facility management. What you can't read is cleaning, workplace management, catering, maintenance, and what you can't read also is space management, like rooms and spaces during the use phase. We focused with these papers on 5 client types: airports, universities, hospitals, public government, and corporates. So we have a clear focus. We don't do anything. We don't do everything. We just focus on those 5. For example, the cleaning of airports is one of the highest costs of airports because it's 24/7, 365 a day. And when we talk to the airport room and Ariska and the others, they also realized, okay, that's quite an expense we have each year. And the same goes for the other subjects. Now, we discovered when making these 5 papers that there's low-hanging fruit as well. And just the other day, we talked with Leon van Berlo gave us a BSDD account to do this. Bring in the kitchen equipment. Because during the making of that paper, we discovered there is an organization called FCSI with 1,500 suppliers of kitchen equipment that were already aligned with buildingSMART and openBIM standards. But we didn't know. So Andrea Aiello looked at it, at the parameter directory, and Andrea is now the one that takes care of bringing in the knowledge of this organization. And we were very lucky because sometimes these classifications, the product information is from one continent. But during this process, Frank Wagner and I don't remember the other name, they took care of the Americans joining. So the kitchen equipment in BSDD now becomes a global representation of that industry, meaning that kitchens can then be designed for universities, hospitals, other sectors based on the BSDD information. Yeah, and that's the low-hanging fruit. The second one in our sector is furniture. These tables and chairs, they have all been designed based on the OFML standard, the Office Furniture Modeling Language, used by every furniture producer in the world. We just didn't know. And it happens to be that they all work with Vectorworks, and buildingSMART International has a strategic partner called Nemetschek. Vectorworks is a product of Nemetschek. So if there's anybody in the room of those 2, please help us bring all the furniture in the world into the BSDD. Yeah? If anybody knows any It's as simple as that. And that's a good example of what we do with this project. We don't invent anything new. We try to find what's already out there and bring it into the buildingSMART international structures. Next, please. One of the major things we have to do, and we succeeded, is alignment with the ISO TC 267, which is for us as important as the ISO TC 59. There's already an official A connection between buildingSMART International and ISO TC 59. We are going to deliver 3 draft ISO standards to the ISO TC 267 in order to have them do the same thing as they do with IFC 4.3. It's another TC, but they have to do something similar. That's the standardization process. So in our project team at buildingSMART, there are 2 guys from the ISO TC 267, Duncan Waddle, who's the convener, and Gordon Mitchell, who's leading the technology part of the ISO TC. Next, please. Together, they have set up a whole program for the digital FM approach. And you see similar things, like maturity in FM for digitalization. Similar that we are used to in buildingSMART International. We have aligned ourselves as a project, and that's why the golden thread is so important. If we can have the golden thread to be adopted at the same moment as they are adopting their technology and the agenda, we can collaborate. December 22, they have a publication, and if we go to the next slide, this includes a whole area of things, subjects like computer and data insight, information models and frameworks, BIM, GIS, the digital workplace, automation monitoring, transaction, grids and networks, a whole bunch of things. Where we connect is to be seen within the coming 6 months. But of course, we do connect on behalf of buildingSMART International with the subjects and the projects that we do in buildingSMART International, with the technical roadmap, etc., etc. These guys are working within buildingSMART International, so they know now. So again, like the low-hanging fruit, if they see something happening, they will bring it back and say, can we have the information? I go to Alexander, and Alexander tells me, this is a product that's ready, that version, please bring it to the ISO TC 267, and they will have a look at it. We have a very short line of command. Next, please. These are future focuses of them, and just like with us, digital twins, smart cities, it's all the same, nothing new. And there's enough knowledge there as well, from various countries and continents. Next, please. And I have to also say on behalf of them that we are allowed to use this logo of ISO TC because they gave it to us, just to for the IP and things. Now, what we are heading at is this meeting here, ISO TC 267, 8 to 12 May, Trondheim. The world of FM is coming together there. At that moment, it's also the Global FM Day. We have a day each year which we call the Global FM Day. And everybody's coming together there. And with our project, FM and openBIM, we will also have a meeting there in order to make sure that everything is aligned again. And that everybody from the FM world knows what buildingSMART International is doing, not just from the FM perspective, but also from the BSDD perspective, BCF. And if you want to make suggestions, we have this mural with the digital thread in order to help us with that. Next, please. Now, this is, of course, a nice picture with the various ISOs coming together. The alignment again. At the meeting there's also CIB, Global FM. For those that don't know Global FM, it's an association of associations, to put it simple. So I heard yesterday or the day before that buildingSMART is focusing on Brazil. We've got some good representatives in Brazil. So we could collaborate maybe there to get them on board. And Global FM is also distributing the 5 industry white papers across the world to all the associations. So we are doing our best to make the buildingSMART International approach known in our industry. Next, please. This you all know. It's not new to you, but we've put this slide on it because when we go to the next slide, which is the mural, which is the golden thread we are aiming for, we see here all kinds of products, services, BCF, IFC. My world of FM is not really aware of all of this. So we need your help in making them aware. So we can do our best, and in our project we can invite FMs, we can invite lots of service providers to participate and bring in their projects. But already today I saw some projects that I said to Suzanne, who was in the room, this is an FM project. And she said, no, it's a design project. Okay, well, let's bring them together maybe, or like the Henderson building, when they started the presentation tomorrow, it was all about people centricity, well-being, green. That's all in the ISO definition of FM. So let's try and find each other. If we go to the next slide, please. This is a little bit where we are at the moment with the golden thread. So we focus on A, B, and C. And in other wording, we see the same thing as buildingSMART is doing. For example, at B1, we see the providers. We call them FM providers. Maybe in buildingSMART, you call them information providers. The brief in use, yeah, it can be other things like build as built or built in use, or. And what we're now trying to do is fill the gaps. For example, the regulatory room, Nisbet, what's his name? Yes. He helps us filling in the golden thread based on what they are doing in the room. So the golden thread is filled with text, which is as simple as that. When you make standards, you use text and put it somewhere else if it's already agreed on. That's what we're also doing. So we're asking other rooms just to express, so we're not doing anything new. We're like applying what's already there. And that will bring us the golden thread for FM and openBIM. And what we're wanting to do today is, that's why you had the mural. And help me out, Alexander, now a little bit, or even come to the stage if you think that's better. Can you help us, please, by putting your stickers?
Yeah, we had copied this slide into the mural, and we also put on the front page of each white paper. What we really would like you to do is to add to this slide is, where can we use which standard of buildingSMART, of course, and how can we use the ISO standard in part. Of course, information protocol is the IDM. Maybe you can use the IDS to specify some specific specifications. So which standard and which practical standards should we use, and how can we combine them? And also, when the other side is the white papers we have, if you have any comments or feedback on the white papers, please add them to the mural so we can update them, make them even better, and see which standard we are missing. So that's what we try to do with this. There's a few examples already posted in the mural. So please give us feedback, help us to complete our golden set. That will be pretty hard as well.
That's the ultimate thing to do.
It's a little bit up. Put the white papers in the chat as well. Have to go. Up. No, that's the white papers.
But we still have time, don't we? How much time do we have? 5 minutes. 5 minutes, okay, just as an example. For those that are not familiar with mural.
It's not that easy.
It's at the beginning that you put the
Yeah. He has to, but I have to copy it into the. No, not possible. No, sorry. But if there are any questions by using the mural, please just contact me. Send me an email. I also have put my chat. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. I will try to help you around later today or tomorrow. Is there any feedback?
Questions about
It speaks for itself.
the use? Any questions? Or from online audience?
Quiet.
Quiet. If not, I want to thank everybody for their attention. Or no questions, David? No? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gianluca Genova. I am one of the Building Room Steering Committee member, leading also the building room in Switzerland and working in a Swiss company called Basler & Hoffmann. Today also Miguel Castro, Global BIM Manager from Schindler Group, will accompany me and also add his perspective to my input. So what I will present is a working group that we have in about digital twins in Switzerland, and what our activities are and how we proceed and tackle this challenge as a national working group. But before that, I would like to give quickly an intro about our national building room activities. Always as the Building Room Steering Committee, we are also trying to also get in touch with different chapters, and different chapters tries to also mirror our activities or try to gather locally. And also in Switzerland, we do have the building room as a national group there, and we under this run several working groups, which is one of them is similar to just the topic before what Fred was mentioned, the project was he was presenting. We have a group which is called BIM FM, which is focusing on the building management application in context BIM and focusing on the perspective from investors, owners, and focusing on the operation phase of the building. On the other hand, we have the BIM to SIM working group, which tries to distribute the knowledge, how simulations in combination with BIM can support our energy simulations or people flow simulation, fire protection simulation, fire escape simulation, or this kind of simulations that could be used in combination with BIM, and this working group tries to enlighten the industry about it. And finally, we come to the group that I would like to present as the digital twin working group. As you can imagine, digital twin is a really also big topic, and also we as a building room tries to also work around this. And one of our first approaches was to get a first overview of the digital twin application in Switzerland and create a use case landscape. So that's what the working group digital twin is momentally focusing. And without losing more time, I will just go into our working group and its purpose and what we are trying to aim in this user group. So digital twin working group is trying to visiting different leading industry partners and try to observe their digital twin application. When we do this, we are trying to focus without trying to actually understanding or trying to criticize. We just focusing what's actually existing, which digital twin application is already there, and we decided to be more a pragmatic approach rather than talking about digital twin, what it could be and what it can become. More we're trying what is today and what is already the companies are doing. And when we do this, we try to get a holistic and shared understanding of it, try to also see in these companies what are the political and entrepreneurial drivers which encourage them to go towards this. What challenges and limitations are they facing, and which technologies, which processes are they using which make them successful in this process, and also how they actually create an added life cycle added value with these digital twins. And when we first started this group, there was a huge group. There were 60 participants in the first roundtable of this digital twin. And of course, there were different parties of different part of the industry. As you can imagine, digital twin is not a topic just for one player or another player in the industry. It's almost for everyone relevant. And then we decided, okay, in order to keep this under a bit in a tangible way, we started to create a scope and try to create clusters. So what we did first, we tried to differentiate the digital twins in terms of the scale, differentiating, for example, a city twin from an infrastructure twin, a building twin, maybe even a system twin, a product twin, whatever you can scale as consider. And our first takeaway was in the first roundtable already that the twins, we always have to not talk about the twin, always about twins, which are twins within a twin. And when we started to think like that, actually, it was easier to actually differentiate this kind of twins. And also we realized really fast that different scale of twins also require different level of detail when it comes to its content. And that's why we talk about the granularity of the twin itself, like how much geometry should be in a different scale of twin, how much information should be. And then another topic that we wanted to also touch base is one thing is like the new building that we are building, how we keep them as a twin in the operation phase. Another thing is how we bring the existing building in the same way and how it differs also this existing building twins from the new building twins. These are all the discussions that we are driving in this working group. And our approach, like I said, it was not, let's try to philosophically talk about digital twins and just list some use cases that no one in the world did. Rather than that, we said, okay, let's go to some leading industry partners and just visit them and see what service they already providing in context digital twins. And then we started to visit every month a big company in Switzerland, and we will keep going this. In 2022, we started to visit Siemens, then Every, Matterport, you know, also as a scanning company, Monomoko, SAP is a big ERP company in the world, Schindler, which actually Miguel is today with us, will also present his part. And what we do in these visits, of course, we have a coffee and cake and whatever, but besides that, what we also do is we get a guided tour about their process, product, or whatever. We allow them to present their application and approach to digital twin. And we just listen this as experts, we just listen this, and then we try to reflect on this in a workshop and try to take the takeaways and without discussing or criticizing the method itself or the product, or really in a more natural way, open way, try to understand what makes it successful. And the idea is that we can gather all these patterns, yes, and then we'll do continuous visits in 2023. But the whole idea of this all 22 and 23 company visits will be, we gather out of every visit a takeaway. We try to understand, observe a pattern, which in digital twins are actually make them successful, to understand what are the digital twin criteria that actually in different scales should be considered, so that actually we don't get lost when we actually develop these use cases. And then we bring them down to reporting takeaways. And the idea is that in the end, we have a kind of Swiss digital twin use case landscape that it makes easier for an everyday user or industry partner or professional to understand what is this digital twin, how does it mean, what it differs from BIM, and what does it mean? Because at the moment, it's really really abstract topic. There are a lot of studies, a lot of paper about it. But if you just build this report based on the industry's takeaways, then it has more context and people can easily relate to their everyday work. That's the idea. So I will just give you some takeaways from some visits, just some keywords that you see how it looks like when we visit the company. So we were Siemens. And the first focus here was using digital twins for a performance simulation in order to actually measure the performance gap. That's, of course, an obvious takeaway. But also then using these models, this live data from the models, to see this performance gap. But on the other hand, improving the simulation actually to optimize the operation of the building, so that actually these digital twins help to actually, in the end of the day, save energy. And that was actually a use case that in Switzerland, one of the height scrapes buildings actually already using this approach. Then we were by EFRI, which is a civil engineering consulting company. What was interesting about this meeting, what we learned that digital twins consist of different models. And when we say models, it's not just a geometrical alphanumeric model that we know. It can also consist of mathematical models. It can consist also of physical models that, for example, an energy engineer will make more sense out of it. And when we come back to the mathematical models, they are really interesting. Sometimes a building or a product or a system provide a lot of dynamic data, like IoT data. And this data follow always a pattern. And when we get enough of this data over the year, we actually get a behavior model. This is just called a mathematical model of a system, of a piece that's already in the industry used, in production industry used many times. It's also a good way, for example, when we want to detect any abnormality in the building, in any system or piece. That's again something that, for example, in the BIM world, we are not familiar with, because we are really good with static data, but when it comes to mathematical models, that's something that we should maybe learn from this. And digital twin, like I said, it's more a model ecosystem rather than just a continuity of a BIM model. Then Matterport and Nomoko was focusing on, for example, the existing building, capturing the city, how we can get fast to a digital twin of existing city or the buildings. And then they were focusing on another topic. How much is the geometry important in this context? Because when you talk with physicists or mathematical guys, of course, they will say numbers are more important than pictures. But when you talk about creating the digital twins to be actually a communicative tool for a facility manager or the facility personals, then you need a certain context. And this visuality is, that in that case, then again, important to get in contact with the user of the building, to get in contact with the personnel of the facility management. And then, of course, the level of geometry, again, comes to the point, and the scanning, the capturing technology matters in that level as well. So that was another important looking at the digital twin. And then we come finally to SAP. I don't know, you all know what an enterprise resource planning system is. It's every big corporation has one. We can see this as a business intelligence of a corporation or enterprise. So that's how the whole business runs, right? And this system is the brain of the company. And then, of course, when you get the buildings as an information model, at the moment, we don't know how to link them to this. But if in the future wants to see the digital twin as an ecosystem of models, of course, one thing is really important, that we can bring this to ERP system in a way. But then what we learned from SAP is that the building operation has a lot of data, which everyone knows, but they are really unstructured way. And really structuring this, it's theoretically possible, but the reality is that it's really hard to really organize already running data or existing data. One approach from SAP was that we actually was really impressed. Can we use AI, for example, to actually tackle this unstructured data, to relate them in a way that actually when we look for some information, maybe it's not easy to know which PDF is now relevant to this element, but maybe the AI can help us to structure these things. Another approach was we should use the repetitive data in the operation phase of the building. We cannot copy the same information multiple times, copy one BIM model to another system, We have to link them. We have to more think about linked data aspect and more increase the multiple uses of one single data that actually goes into the operation phase. And that's all the parameters that SAP is following to optimize the efficiency in the operation phase. That was another takeaway. So now, actually, to not listening for me the takeaways, I will actually give the word to Miguel, which is my colleague, which actually, from a manufacturer perspective, will present what digital twins means for them. So Miguel, are you there? You can overtake.
So thank you, Gianluca, and hello everybody from Switzerland. Unfortunately, I'm not as lucky as you that can today be in person in Montreal, but I will try my best to do it as smooth as possible, and then we can have a conversation about this topic as well together. So today I will present you the digital twins from a manufacturer perspective. As Gianluca said, we met on the 14th of October in our headquarters in Switzerland, the canton of Lucerne. And yeah, we have some interesting takeaways. So I will tell you today what is a digital twin from a manufacturer perspective or from our perspective. So let's move on. Okay, so we can't really disregard the fact that every day more and more people are moving into cities. So as you can see here, every second 2 people are moving to a city. So we need to find efficient ways of moving these people, not only vertically as we do. If you don't know, Schindler is an elevator and escalator provider that we are worldwide in over 100 countries. So of course we move people vertically, also in some instances, like in airports, with moving walks horizontally. But coming back to these trends, every day more and more we can feel we are lucky because we live longer years than we used to do in the past. And once we become a little bit older, then we really need this mobility to work correctly for elderly people. And how can we do this? This is something we will see today. Is about connectivity, how we can really improve the performance of the building systems, and how we can use, for example, IoT technology to make sure we can perhaps detect also certain anomalies. And of course, we can't forget the sustainability part of it, which is really important. We need to look after our environment, after our planet, and perhaps the digital twins, or I am sure that the digital twins will help us to manage this in a better way than we do today. So we all know about BIM, so I guess you are all experts. But here I just want to highlight the different technologies we have today in urbanization. As you know, BIM has been with us around for a few years or for many years, depending who you talk to. And it basically goes through the design phase, installation or construction phase, and then operation and what we call modernization or refurbishment. So moving forward from where we are today and in the BIM world, then we have the digital twins, which is the topic for today. So I just ask whether this is an obvious evolution we have to take, or do we really need a revolution? As you can see, the definition is there for you from GE. The source is a little bit small, but you can see it is defined as a representation of a physical asset, as well as the processes that we need to understand the performance of a particular facility. So the use of digital twins should allow any business, not only ourselves as manufacturers, but also, even as we will see now, up to a level or national level, to take better informed decisions when we reach a whole point. So for us, as you can see, the concept that we have is to go throughout the entire product or project lifecycle, if we call it like that. So from the moment when we are designing our products all the way through manufacturing, through installation, through engineering phases, how we gather data from our products in real time, and how we analyze this to improve the products in the future. So once we close the loop, that is what we will call our digital twin. But of course, the digital twins might come in different sizes, and don't take sizes on the meaning of amount of data or file size. We are talking here about different small pieces of big puzzle, let's call it like that. So for some of our factories, they might use the twin or the model of a particular component. As you see on the left-hand side, that is a lift machine. So one of the electric motors that sits on top of the lift shaft and moves the lift up and down. But for other parts of the business, of course, might be important to have a system twin, meaning that we know how each part interact with each other and what relationships they have while they are in operation. And for sure, all these twins that we have in different places are located in a building, of course, in a city, and in some cases, even they talk about national digital twins and how we can make use of these twins or of this data for the greater good. But of course, this is easier said than done. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us. So the first one we can see at the building city level. So you can imagine as a manufacturer, we have data that we deal with, but if we upscale this to a city level or even to a building level, the challenges are even bigger. So how are we going to merge, as Gianluca just said, the existing data we have or existing buildings we have with the new data we are creating? And in the case of a city, you can imagine they have tons of different types of data in different formats, from paper format to financial information, traffic information. So the challenge really is, how do we bring all this together and make sure that the data we generate really serves a purpose? Today, in many cases, we generate a lot of data, but then we don't use most of it. So we have to generate the necessary data to make sure we take these informed decisions that really help the city or the state. And another challenge we all face, and you will all face for sure, are how we do this change management inside our companies. So the first and the easiest one of all to overcome might be the tools. There are many tools in the market today that we can purchase from different vendors, but more importantly is the skills you need to make use of these tools that we buy. And of course, together with the skills, we have also the methodology. So once we find a good balance between tools, skills, and methodologies, we will for sure be successful. This is not easy. Probably this is the hardest part we have today. I heard on the radio the other day that employers are really struggling to find the skills they need today. About 70% of the job profiles or job offers they have open, they have skills that do not exist today or are not taught, for example, in universities or in apprenticeship courses, etc. So we have to also perhaps work together with academia to make sure we can also not perhaps close the gap immediately, but at least make it smaller and smaller. And once we manage to fine-tune these three areas, of course, we can use this data, as I mentioned, for the greater good. So that's an example of our products. For example, what you see on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, that is not really a NASA control center to launch rockets into the moon. That is one of our technical operation centers where we receive real-life data from the elevators and the escalators that are installed on site. And very experienced personnel analyze this data and make sure that they can solve this problem either remotely, or when it is not remotely, then they can address the problem to the right employee to go to site and make sure the lifts or the escalators go back into operation. So that's just one example of how we use the data. And now I will tell you a little bit about the meeting we had a few days ago. So as you can see, we have quite a big number of participants, I have to say. I was very happy to welcome everybody in our headquarters. So we had a discussion with Christian, our head of new technologies, about how we use innovation inside our company. And we took all of the attendees through our Schiller Visitor Center. And we had, I have to say, a very good time, about an hour and a half, 2 hours of not only showing our products and what we do, but also very insightful discussions. And then at the end of the meeting, what we did, as Gianluca mentioned, we had this workshop, and we have a few takeaways. And the takeaways we got from this meeting is that, as I mentioned, the digital twins can have different sizes. So a company might use the twin of a product, but a state, for example, or a city council might use different size of twin. So we have to find what is the right balance on that. Then, as I mentioned, for example, we have all of these elevators and escalators connected or interconnected to this ecosystem. And these, of course, allow us to do this data-driven decision process and really make sure we do it efficiently. So I mentioned also earlier in the presentation that the life cycle of the twin or of the product has to be considered from very early stages, mainly from R&D, from research and development, and how this twin is going to behave. We have different clusters of data models depending on the type of product or the type of application we have. Then also the twins, a very interesting discussion we had, could be used as performance-based financing models. For example, there are talks since many years about pay-per-use, let's say, or pay-as-you-go for certain services, not only for lifts and escalators, but for services we use inside the buildings. And then how we can reuse, as I just mentioned, this real-time data that we capture from the installed products on the field, how this can be used to optimize not only future products, but also how we can improve the current products. And that is the end of the presentation. So thank you for listening. I hope you found it insightful, and then we can move to the discussion or questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If there is any question here in the room, we can hear you. I think there's a question in chat box. How about updating data after renovation work? How do you keep the twin updated?
So, like I mentioned before, twins or digital twins, or I mean, I cannot say it should or not should, but ideally it would be better if it consists of multiple models. And of course, if assuming this question goes into more, let's say we have a BIM model, let's say an IFC, and then it goes to renovation, and then it doesn't represent anymore the new stage of the building since it's renovated. So how we keep the twin updated? So that's the question. And there are two ways to approach this thing. Of course, one line would say, oh, we need the native files so that we can adjust, or we have to import the data inside the native software and do the adjustment. Another way is saying just do the renovated part as a different representation, build just a piece of the renovated part, mark it in the existing model that those particular pieces are not actual anymore, and just merge it, so create a hybrid. That will be the most, I think, pragmatic way. And that again aligns with the idea twins consist of models. So in the lifetime of a building or a ecosystem, there will be always multiple models. As long as the models can talk to each other, and as long as we can track back that this renovation happened, I don't see any problem with that. I don't know. Miguel, if you want to maybe add to your aspect, I don't know, elevators, you also renovate stuff, I guess.
Yeah, so I fully agree with you. We had cases in the past where we have worked in existing buildings, and of course, the customer in this case, they have done a fully 3D scan of the building. And the important part, I guess, when it comes down to renovation is the collaboration you have amongst the different parties and trades working in the project. It is perhaps more difficult to renovate or to knock down part of a building and rebuilding again, that building it from scratch. So this collaboration is very important, and you also have to have at project level or customer level, you need to have the governance. Not that somebody just writes something in a spec and you hope that everybody complies with it, but also that somebody is really looking after this topic and making sure that at the end of the project, the twin or the BIM model or the databases are fully updated to reflect the current status of the building after the renovation.
Any other question? No, there's no question.
So my question is more about the CD environment that you are maintaining for everything, because yeah, okay. The CD environment that you are having, because you just mentioned that there are multiple models that are talking to each other, and it requires an advanced CD that with a lot of data talking to each other in the entirety of the work, because now we just talked about the renovation, but there's also a day-to-day work and changing the location of everything, changing maybe the workstation locations, how it is being managed, and how many iterations you are having in your day-to-day life to maintain the most up-to-date information in the CDs.
So, I mean, there are different approaches to this. I mean, I can just give an example based on our visit in SAP. It was in Airport Zurich. So, and also working for a project in Airport Zurich. And maybe, I mean, we know this from ISO norm that there is a project CD and there's an asset CD. So that's so far so good. What we don't know is asset CD, what we consider the information model combination with files and documents about the project, is just one side of the operation phase. Like I said, there is already running ERP systems, which is even also only one part. For example, the airport Zurich has multiple platforms. And maybe when we say CD, maybe CD is also a common data environment. That means it's a combination of different common data environment as well. So, so usually, I mean, at the moment, we don't have a solution to it. I know SAP is trying to build modules to integrate information models or link to a CD like Trimble Connect or ACC so that they can jump in when they need data. But then we need kind of an operation system in the operation phase that can link or access to these different data. And there is no one way of data architecture or another. So usually every client has to build its data infrastructure. And it's important that they're linked. As say in Airport Zurich tries to link its control system with SAP using ACC and try to be able to access any kind of data by one call or querying. So that's the goal, ultimate goal. But it requires a lot of restructuring and linking of data. And I didn't see yet a fully complete digital twin yet. But that's how I'm imagining in the future, and that's how we understand from SAP they're imagining, which is one of the biggest ERP. I think they should have a plan for it. If they don't, they're missing out. So, yeah, so that will be my answer. I don't know, Miguel, if you want to add, of course.
No, all good. Thank you.
If there's any question also to Fred, to openBIM and FM, just, yeah. Also to the people in the call. Okay. Can you access twin to a mobile device? I mean, you can access through mobile device to the twin ecosystem partially. So, I mean, of course, you need to build then probably an app or something to the particular application you want to access. I mean, that's already what most of the maintenance people on the field do. They build for the particular service an app. I assume Miguel will answer a better this thing, and that particular mobile device just communicates with the twin in a particular limited way and delivers just an information that is related from the field to the twin. So that's yeah, it's possible. I don't know, Miguel, you're already using, I guess, your mobile device. I saw you maintenance guy already are trained to do so.
Yeah, exactly. So we have our own platform that runs in mobile devices, and as you saw before, perhaps on the slide, then they can access the information. They have all of the tasks they have to do or they have to perform inside the mobile device, and they can also close these activities once they have done. They can also add comments and etc. just using a mobile device. So it is possible.
I already see another question here. How twin used for predictive maintenance work? I think, Miguel, you can answer again this question. I have another answer to that question.
Okay. Yeah, basically, we have many units or many equipment that is already connected to the internet and transmitting data to our technical operation centers via the internet. And we have, of course, smart models where, based on the data our colleagues received and the algorithms receive, then they know whether there will be a problem or not. And in some cases, some repairs or resets can be done remotely. So we don't really need to dispatch a service technician to site if it's not needed. Of course, that saves time and hassle to the customer that will not have their lift stopped for a while. And if it's a minor failure that can be addressed in the next maintenance visit, for example, if it can wait, it will wait. So we save also time, as I said, the customer gets their lift or the escalator into operation or repaired remotely. And of course, we don't have to have people traveling, as we mentioned before, the planet area, the sustainability. We don't need to have a service technician moving from one place to the other just to reset the elevator, for example.
Right. Maybe also to add on, Miguel, I mean, predictive maintenance is something, I mean, we already can do really easily scheduled maintenance by just kind of entering the regular maintenance schedule to any kind of information model. So that's already we know from the statistical models. But to actually predictive maintenance, we have to be actually avoid any kind of failure. So predict any kind of abnormality. So for that, definitely we need dynamic data, which means sensor data to actually follow certain process. And like I said, there was one example from EFRI where they were talking about mathematical models. That's something which I didn't know before. Actually, that's the most efficient way to predict any kind of maintenance before is creating mathematical models about buildings, or as infrastructure. So capturing the normal behavior of over the year. And then if something is not according to normal or something abnormal based on the captured data, then that's how you predict something someone needs to check out. Yeah, I mean, AI, the link, the question is do you see a link with AI in the future? Like I said, SAP really counting on AI a lot to really get all the unstructured data together. Yeah, I mean, if we want to really, like also Christian said, we have to renovate digital model. Renovating existing data is painful. And I think AI is the only way that we can accelerate this renovation of all the digital models that we have. So that's how we will use it probably.
So thank you so much for attending this session. I hope we'll see you on the other session or even the next session here after the lunch, of course. Thank you so much. I finished the presentation. Thanks a lot. I appreciate your presence here.